Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. It's not uncommon in very close families for parents to end up in shock, confusion, and disbelief when one of their children grows up and becomes estranged. But in reality, closeness doesn't protect families from estrangement by adult children. In fact, sometimes it is the nature of that closeness itself that propels the child into seeking distance in adulthood, even while her siblings still cleave to their parents. Now, the estrangement doesn't have to be permanent, but the way parents in close families react to an adult child's estrangement can have a significant impact on how long it might last. Let's look at why a seemingly happy child from a very close family might become estranged and what you can do about it. To do this, we have to talk about the difference between two types of close families. The first type I'll just call close, and the other type is called enmeshed. Enmeshment happens when people are so close that psychological boundaries between them are not well defined. In families that are enmeshed as opposed to just close, privacy and autonomy are pretty hard to come by. In close families, members might enjoy spending plenty of time together, either as a group or individually. But in enmeshed families, time with family takes priority over time spent on non-family relationships. To spend too much time or invest too deeply in outside relationships feels disloyal in some way to enmeshed family members. In merely close families, personal differences are respected and support is pretty unconditional. But enmeshed families prefer that members think and feel in similar ways as much as possible and share the same values and desires. It's as though, instead of, say, 4 different people, there is just one person consisting of 4 parts. The integrity of the family takes precedence over the wholeness of any individual member. And so there's a lot of tension whenever there's conflict. And of course there's conflict in any family. There's conflict in any relationship, so you can't avoid that. But in enmeshed families, conflict creates a lot of tension. While children thrive in close families, children in enmeshed families often suffer from guilt for things like wanting to spend time with people outside the family or exploring a career path that's not sanctioned by the family, or not meeting the emotional needs of the parents whose desire for closeness may be experienced by the child as control. Enmeshment is essentially closeness without autonomy. Now, as you reflect on your family system, you may say, we've always encouraged our kids to be independent. And that may indeed be a value that you want to instill. But enmeshment can still be present in subtle ways. If there are expectations of a certain level of communication among family members, and if there is extreme resistance when those expectations aren't met, that may be a sign of enmeshment rather than simply closeness. If it feels a bit disloyal when a family member protects his personal privacy, that too could be a sign of enmeshment rather than closeness. If you can feel the emotions of another family member as if they were your own, that's another feature of potential enmeshment. Closeness, on the other hand, is boundaried. There's a point between even people who are very close where one person ends and the other begins, a point where you are you and not me. Enmeshment muddies that boundary, so it's hard to navigate relationships, especially when emotions are running high. There's a sense of uncomfortable responsibility for other family members' emotions rather than simply a desire to be supportive. Having been part of a close family, per se, doesn't drive young adults away from their parents, quite the opposite. But the need to escape from enmeshment can motivate estrangement. Those differences I just mentioned between being close and being enmeshed are just a few bullet points to help you begin to understand how certain close families, that is, ones that are actually more enmeshed, are vulnerable to adult-child estrangement due to the child's ardent desire for physical and psychological space. Fortunately, it's never too late for parents to do something about family dynamics that contribute to estrangement. Enmeshed family systems, like other family systems, don't change readily, but acknowledging and addressing the impact of enmeshment on younger family members is certainly something that parents can do to protect their relationships with adult children. Learn as much as you can about this concept of enmeshment. Become an expert on the differences between being close and being enmeshed. Start, as always, with your own experience growing up in your own family. How were boundaries handled by your parents? Were they too loose? Too rigid? Was there ever a feeling of too much closeness when you were growing up? Or maybe there wasn't enough closeness and interdependence for your needs. In any case, how did your experience in your family of origin affect you as a parent? There is so much to learn and explore in your own history. Please don't skip this crucial step. If your adult child is reacting to enmeshment by establishing distance, you have some time now to do any work you personally want to do in establishing and observing truly healthy boundaries. The most important thing to know about boundaries is that they don't exist just to keep people out. They exist to help us be close to each other in healthy ways that respect our individual identities, thoughts, feelings, and needs. Boundaries are, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to get right in relationships. For many people, myself included, developing healthier boundaries is an important part of our continuing personal growth over our lifetimes. Your commitment to understanding healthy boundaries, including the difference between enmeshment and just plain closeness, will have a direct impact on all your relationships. So before you reach out to your estranged adult child again, be sure to give your own evolution in this area some time to gain momentum. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.